Today we're working on a 2009 Sienna. We are replacing the rack and pinion, outer tie rods, and we're doing a front brake service. This is what you're going to need for the brake service: caliper hooks, brake piston tool, 19, 17, 14, 12, 3/8 extension, 3/8 ratchet, and anti-seize. These are the tools that you're going to need to replace the rack and pinion. You're going to need a 3/8 drive 17, a 3/8 drive size 12, 3/8 drive deep 12, 2 extensions, a 3/8 drive ratchet, 17 and 19 gear wrench, a regular 21, a regular pliers, and a long nose, long reach pliers, a big pry bar, a vice grip, flathead screwdriver and a pick tool, a heavy hammer, dead blow hammer, and a drop light, only because I'm working at night. Oh, I forgot to mention my favorite tool, size 21 and the cordless impact. Alright, so we're going to start with the outer tie rod. We're going to have to take out there's a cotter pin, and the castle nut is a size 17. You can see the 19 bolt that holds the rack. Let's move over to the brakes. You're going to need a size 14 for this, top and bottom, size 14. And then for the bracket, it's a size 19, also top and bottom. You're going to need to take out this size 12 here that holds the brake line in place. And let's begin. As soon as you get the brake pads out, get the brake caliper piston tool and push the piston all the way back until it's flush with the caliper housing. You'll know if it's frozen, you won't be able to push it back just by spinning it. And then hang up the caliper out of the way with the caliper hook. Took out the 19s holding the rack and pinion. I made a makeshift backyard pry bar. You basically put the rear end of a 21 onto the front end of a 19 and you use it like so. Take out the size 12 bolts holding the sway bar down. There's one in the front and one towards the front of the engine, one towards the back on both sides. And then I pulled off the left side end link to allow for more room to take out the rack and pinion. Remember to always match your old parts to the new parts, including brake pads, just so you don't have to work double time. This is how I measured my tie rod length. I measured from here until the middle of the ball on the end. And then I verified the measurement from here to the threads on both sides, just to make sure that they were the same length. Holding the intermediate shaft onto the rack is a size 12. I used the 2 extensions to reach it from the wheel well of the car. The lines down here are size 17s. The top one's a barb. I removed the hose first, and then I moved it to the bottom where the hard line connects. That's a size 17 as well. And then don't forget the brackets that hold the power steering lines in place. It's a size 12 here, a bolt, and then on the end of it, it's a size 12 nut holding down the power steering lines. This This is the barb fitting for the top, for the return of the rack. And then the rubber hose slips onto that with the spring clamp. This is the reason why we're replacing it. It was having a wandering issue. When I hit a bump, the steering would wander. The bushings were pretty much, they were gone. I could pull off the top. You're not supposed to be able to do that. It should be connected to the rack. Also, the boot was torn and it was leaking. Usually in this instance, I just recommend to just replace the rack. The way for removal and installment of this rack and pinion is kind of tricky, but you just gotta wiggle it in and get it in the right angle and move the sway bar out of the way. You might also find it easier if you just remove the whole sway bar as a whole, but I opted for just leaving it there hanging. Also, as soon as you get it into the right place, like where the bushings would mount, what I did was I just hit it with the dead blow hammer, just to slide the bushings into the hole and match up the holes to the bolts. It's a little bit tricky, but you'll eventually get it with patience. Don't force it with a heavy hammer. Also, for the sway bar link, it's a size 19 to hold the back of the head on, and then it's a size 17 for the front nut. Back onto the brakes, remove all the old hardware, and you want to put the new hardware that came with the brake pads. Don't forget to put Seal-Glide on the sliding pins and anti-seize on the friction parts of the brake pad. I didn't show how I removed the rotor out of the car. Most of the time it will be frozen onto the hub. Just loop out the ring, and then what I did was I put a piece of wood on the back side of the rotor and I tapped it out with a hammer. Sometimes you can just hammer the face and it'll pop free. As soon as you're done with the brakes and you're satisfied with your alignment, go take it out on test drive, and you gotta perform a burnishing procedure with the brake pads. It's basically going from like 45 to 35 times with no cool down, and after that just drive